The Everyday Portrayal of Urban Education by Paton Roden. According to Gutek and Loader, in the 19th century, Horace Mann envisioned a public school system that exceeded parochial schools in quality and were made available to a diverse makeup of students. This public school system would be the great economic equalizer that would reduce all class conflicts. Unfortunately, Mann's vision of fewer class conflicts and equality have not been lived out. The public school system has become increasingly segregated based on race, socioeconomic status, and social capital. Each year, it seems urban schools serve larger concentrations of poor students, racial minorities, and English language learners. According to Schneider, as higher income families depart, resources go with them, and urban schools are faced with daunting prospects of doing more with less. The question is, why do higher income families leave and head towards the suburban or private schools? Schneider states, urban schools don't inspire much confidence these days. Is this the truth? Or is this just the dominant opinion that society forces in America? Arguably, Hollywood plays a role in shaping America's dominant middle-class stereotypes of urban education. And, as Dalton states, movies, especially mainstream Hollywood fare, are powerful tools for identifying the dominant discourse in a given culture over time. This compelling message is reflected by many movies and cultural representations in America. When considering cultural stereotypes and opinions, Hollywood plays a large role in sustaining the dominant viewpoint. Many times, as Dalton puts it, a movie script seen on screen becomes a script for our lives in the sense that popular texts inform our identities and our collective and personal sense of all the possibilities and limitations our life stories hold. Hollywood does more than simply provide entertainment. Instead, movies produced have a large impact on people's everyday viewpoints and culture. In order to test this theory, I interviewed 22 individuals to hear their viewpoint of urban education. These individuals represent low, middle, and upper classes. They represent African American, white, and Hispanic races, and they represent both male and female gender. I asked each individual, when you hear the term urban education, what comes to mind? The following phrases or words were said. Low income. No funding. Public school. Students we do not care enough about. Black. Inadequate education. Run down. Underserved. Metropolitan areas. Underprivileged. Underfunded. High staff turnover. Limited. Higher diversity. Behavioral issues. Few opportunities. Struggling. Less fortunate. inequality, systematic poverty, poor infrastructure, neglected students. And here are the references. Why is this the portrayal of urban education? When asked, more in-depth answers were found. One respondent stated, "I don't know that my answer is PC or politically correct. It's just what I've been taught. I think of a school system with low-income families and low budgets for school resources. And the sad part is, you always hear that these students have more behavioral issues." Another stated, "There's just this perception. Those not familiar think of urban education as simply poor and lower income." A third person stated, "Based on my experience working in an urban education system for 2 years, I would just say it's neglected by the state. The concern is systematic poverty." These more in-depth answers shed light to the origin of thought. Those who do not have personal exposure to urban education tend to have Hollywood's exaggerated idea of it. Hollywood paints a light on the very dramatic and head-turning examples of urban education. We believe that this is the everyday. How can we intervene when others share inaccurate portrayals? As educators, we can share that the movie portrayals are not exactly the truth. We can challenge this dominant middle-class stereotype that Hollywood and society perpetuates. Through this course, I've learned that urban education is very complex. Policy and systematic ways lead to concerns with funding and resources. Having a middle-class savior or someone from the outside come in is not the answer. It is much more complex and requires community's help. It's easy to look at teachers or students to change or improve. They are not the concern. They need others to care enough to help. Once others in society do, change can happen. Thank you.